Hey guys, thanks for joining us here at Enduro E-Bikes Canada. Today we have a very exciting treat in store that we're just itching to unbox. So, without wasting any more time, I'll hand it over to one of our bike technicians and he'll show the final assembly that's required once you've received a bike of your own. As you can see, the bike is very well packaged, with lots of protection to prevent any damage during shipping. This also means you're gonna feel like a kid on Christmas with plenty of goodies to unwrap. In our case, that includes the 26-inch Maxxis tires mounted on Sunringle MTX welded wheels. The main assembly of the e-bike itself, seen here with nice white gloss finish and black side panel fixture screws. You've got your standard seat with all the necessary nuts and bolts, the all-important charger, and remember, you're going to want to be careful when unpacking everything, especially if you're using a sharp tool or a knife. And make sure you organize all the parts nice and neatly so you don't get confused later. We include all the tools you'll need for final assembly of the bike, although you will need a means to inflate the tires, and a rubber mallet will come in handy too. Now the fun can really begin, by installing the parts as shown in the video. Did we forget to mention a second set of hands can be a handy tool to have as well. It can make installing the front fork a much easier task. Once the front fork is in position, a pro tip for getting the top support to slide on smoothly is to gently rock the bike back and forth. When that's done, you're ready to install the headset. It's important to tighten the center bolt until there's no free play in the headset or front fork, since it's the center bolt that preloads the headset bearings. However, make sure you don't tighten it too much so that the steering becomes stiff. Making this adjustment should be the first thing you do before tightening any of the other bolts. The next step is to install the handlebar clamp. When doing so, it's crucial that you tighten the screws evenly to ensure even clamping force. The Allen key is your best friend again for this task. Just make sure you keep things nicely aligned, assuming you want to ride straight and not in a constant zigzag. Now you can go ahead and connect your cables at the front, including the brake switch. The connections are all labeled and color-coded, but if you can't find the label on the outside of the bike, simply follow the cable to the inside of the bike and locate it. To avoid damaging any components, it's essential that you make sure the locating tab inside the connection lines up before you push them together, and screw the lock collar in place. Cables completed. You can install your bike seat, a process which I'm sure needs little explanation. Installing your pedals on the other hand, or should I say the other foot, can be a little trickier. Take note that the right side pedal has a right hand thread. It installs clockwise and removes counterclockwise. Whereas the left side pedal has a left hand thread. It installs counterclockwise and removes clockwise. You should be very careful not to cross-thread the pedals. If a pedal isn't going in smoothly, remove it and try again to get the threads lined up correctly. And unless you want a unicycle, we better get that front wheel put on. Remove the bar from the front fork after loosening it with, you guessed it, an Allen key. Call back your buddy to lift the bike while you position the wheel and slide the bar back into place. Using a gentle tap of a rubber mallet to feed it through if necessary. Don't forget to screw the end caps back in on both sides, ensuring that they're nice and snug before moving on to the next step. Speaking of which, the next step involves more screwing. This time the brake caliper mount to the front fork. The brake cable can then be fixed into position here before moving on to the installation of the actual brake caliper. You may need to remove a brake pad holder from the front caliper. It can be discarded once it's removed. Having done that, proceed by attaching the caliper to the mount you placed earlier. We're getting close, but before you can hit the road, it's crucial you make sure both tires are at the right pressure, which is 40 psi. After all, you don't want your ride to be flat like a spoiled soda. Be advised that when filling up each tire, you may need to grab the base of the valve stem with some pliers, at least during the first few psi to ensure you don't push the valve stem into the inside of the rim. Once you have a few psi in the tube, it'll keep the valve stem from being pushed into the rim and you can fill it the rest of the way like normal. Next, double check that the connections at the front of the bike, the front fork, and handlebars are as tight as they need to be, and you're almost there. Looking good, don't you think? But this is an e-bike, remember, so you're going to want to locate and connect the primary power cable. In this case, it's a yellow XT60, but on other models, it'll be a gray Anderson connector. If it sparks on connection, don't panic. It's completely normal. Just be careful not to damage the pins when pushing them together. Once connected, give the wires on the backside of the connectors a small tug to ensure the pins are still fully locked into place. When the main battery connection is made, there's still one other small yellow XT60 connector on all bikes that needs to be connected to ensure the charger can charge the battery. After those two connections have been made, you can reinstall the side panel using the easy access side panel thumb screws. Now here's how to switch the charger to 110 volt for USA Canada charging. Then you can go ahead and connect it to the bike's charging port and juice that bad boy up. You'll know it's charging when the red light is on. And of course, when it turns green, that means you're good to go. Turn on the display using a button on the handlebar and do that satisfying peel of the plastic for some added ASMR. Alrighty, there we go. Bike's built. It's pretty straightforward, but if you guys do have any questions, there's always the live tech support via WhatsApp. That's enough for me though. I'm gonna let this thing charge up and then I'll go take it for a spin. Make sure you guys subscribe if you want to see some riding footage of this sweet bike.